The silence within Earth's Central Command was suffocating. Admiral Sarah Chen stood rigid before the holographic array, her lined face lit by the crimson emergency signals pulsing from the screen. A transmission from New Haven Colony had just come through, its final cry before going silent. "Replay it," she ordered, her voice composed though her fingers trembled faintly. The AI complied. Once again, the desperate voice echoed through the chamber. "This is Governor Marcus Shaw of New Haven. We're under siege by Kracken forces. Their dreadnoughts dropped from hyperspace. Our shields, they're failing. Civilian losses are—" Static tore through the message. He resumed brokenly. "Earth must understand. They're not here to rule. They're here to—" The transmission cut to a wash of static. That was 6 hours ago. Long-range scans confirmed their worst fear. New Haven, humanity's largest extrasolar colony, home to 3 million souls, was gone, reduced to atomic ash. Admiral Chen turned to address Earth's highest-ranking officers. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "for 2 centuries we've hidden behind the illusion of limited defense. We let the galaxy think we were harmless. Merchants, settlers. That charade ends now." The command display shifted, revealing an intricate web of covert shipyards buried in asteroids and lunar crust. In these veiled sanctuaries slept Earth's true arsenal, a fleet of 700,000 warships built in silence, guarded by secrecy. Each one crafted with breakthroughs unknown to any alien species. "Protocol Sleeping Giant is now in effect," Chen declared. The words sparked a chain reaction across the solar system. Hidden bases roared awake. Quantum AI cores, trained through decades of simulated warfare, uploaded live combat strategies. Soldiers, trained in isolation for years, rose from bunkers deep under Martian soil. General Marcus Way, commander of the First Strike Fleet, watched as his flagship, the ESS Nemesis, roared to life for the first time. The ship, like every vessel in the secret fleet, embodied the apex of human ingenuity, a synthesis of artificial intellect and human instinct. "The Kraken think they've dealt us a mortal blow," Chen continued, unwavering. "They believe they've halted our spread into the stars. What they've done is the opposite. They've awakened something far greater." She paused, letting the room absorb her words. "For generations, we anticipated this moment. Every child who dared to look beyond Earth knew this day might come. We didn't panic. We prepared. We adapted. We advanced." The air shifted as displays came to life, showing the disposition of Earth's dormant forces. This fleet wasn't just large. It was transformative. Every ship housed technology born in the shadows, quantum-linked communication grids that couldn't be intercepted, propulsion systems powered by dark matter leaving no trace, and weaponry capable of altering the physical laws in localized fields. "The Kracken Empire has reigned for 10,000 years, Chen stated. "They've crushed empires, absorbed species, claimed countless worlds. They believe this makes them unbeatable." She stepped aside, allowing the main screen to reveal Earth's forces mobilizing. But they've never faced humanity in its truest form. They annihilated one of our colonies expecting fear, surrender. Instead, they gave us focus. Across Earth and its farthest frontiers, humans stood united. One voice, one will. The command, center buzzed with purpose as battle protocols, once only theoretical, became real. Warships emerged from shadowed docks, their crews forged in discipline and secrecy, prepared for a war their ancestors had merely imagined. Humanity's greatest military machine was rising, and with it, a reckoning. The galaxy was about to discover what made humanity unlike any species the Kraken had subjugated. "Transmit this to all commands," Chen said firmly. "Operation Righteous Thunder is a go. Phase 1 launches in 6 hours. Her eyes hardened. "The Kraken will learn. Humanity doesn't shatter. We adapt. We endure. And now, we strike. As her words reached every hidden stronghold, Chen allowed herself a single breath of grim satisfaction. The Kraken had miscalculated, measured humanity by its surface, its diplomacy, its apparent vulnerability. What they didn't see, what they couldn't comprehend, was that humanity had never stopped preparing. Never forgotten their violent past. The time for waiting was over. Humanity's response to the destruction of New Haven would become legend, a story told across the galaxy for generations to come. It would begin with 700,000 warships emerging from hiding. But it would end with something far more significant, a fundamental shift in the balance of power in the galaxy. The war for humanity, survival was about to begin, and Earth was ready. High Admiral C.C. of the Kracken Empire stood aboard his flagship's observation deck. His scaled hands clasped behind his back as he watched the debris field that was once New Haven Colony drift through space. The destruction had been total. Defiant, a message to humanity about the futility of resistance. Yet something bothered him about the ease of their victory, my lord. His second-in-command interrupted his contemplation. We're detecting unusual quantum fluctuations throughout the sector before CCS could respond. Space itself seemed to tear open, not in one place, but in thousands of locations simultaneously through these rift-submerged chips, unlike anything the Kraken had ever encountered, sleek dark vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Impossible, CCS, whispered the tactical display showed. Not dozens, or even hundreds of ships, but thousands. Then tens of thousands. Then hundreds of thousands, each vessel bore the mark of Earth. But these weren't the primitive spacecraft the humans were known for. These were weapons of war that shouldn't exist aboard the ESSS Nemesis. General Marcus Way watched the Kraken fleet's reaction with cold satisfaction. All ships execute battle pattern. Omega show them what humanity has been working on for the past 2 centuries. The human fleet moved with impossible precision ships that should have been clumsy behemoths danced through space with the agility of fighter craft. The dark matter drives that powered them left no energy signature for the Kraken to track, making each vessel a ghost that could appear anywhere, strike and vanish. Sir Wei's AI tactical officer reported the Kraken are attempting to form a defensive sphere. Their shield technology remains formidable. We nodded. Deploy the Phase 1. Weapons package. Let's show them how humanity fights throughout the human fleet weapon systems that had been theoretical just decades ago, powered up quantum disruptors that could unravel the fabric of space-time itself, gravitational lenses that could focus the energy of nearby stars into devastating beams, and most terrifying of all, swarms of self-replicating nanite clouds that could strip a ship to its atomic components in seconds. The battle that followed would be studied by military historians for centuries to come. The Kraken fought with all the skill and power that had made them the galaxy's supreme military force, but they were facing an enemy that had spent generations preparing specifically for this moment. Human ships moved in perfect coordination, their AI systems working in harmony, with their crews to predict and counter every Kraken tactic. When a Kraken aped, the humans adapted faster. When the Kraken revealed new weapons, the humans had countermeasures ready. My Lord Crick's tactical officer reported, panic evident in his voice. Their weapons, they're not just defeating our shields, they're analyzing them. Each hit makes them more effective against our defenses. CCS watched in horror. Ash's fleet's supposedly impenetrable shields were systematically dismantled. The humans weren't just fighting. They were learning, evolving their tactics and technology in real time aboard the Nemesis. We received a priority communication from Admiral Chen. The Kraken reinforcements will arrive in 30 minutes. General, make sure they understand the full extent of their mistake. We turn to AR Initiate Protocol, Prometheus. All ships execute synchronized strike pattern Delta 7. The human fleet moved as one, their formation SH, shifting into a complex geometric pattern that seemed to defy traditional space combat doctrine. Then, in a display of technological supremacy that would be remembered for generations, every ship activated its quantum synchronization field. Simultaneously, the effect was devastating. The combined fields create a cascade of spatial distortions that trapped the Kracken fleet in a web of warped space-time. Ships that tried to escape found themselves moving in impossible directions, their advanced engines useless against the fundamental rewriting of physical laws. This is General Marcus Way of the Earth Space Force. His transmission cut through all Kraken communications. You destroyed one of our colonies, believing us to be weak. You judged us by what we showed, the galaxy never questioning why a species that advanced so quickly in other areas seems so behind in military technology. That was your first mistake. Your second was assuming that humanity's greatest strength was in our ships or our weapons. As he spoke, the human fleet tightened its formation, preparing for the killing blow. Our greatest strength is that we never ever stop preparing for the worst. Every peaceful trade agreement we signed, every diplomatic mission we undertook, every scientific breakthrough we shared behind it all. We were getting ready for this day. The Kraken, strapped in the quantum web, could only watch as the human fleet's weapons powered up for a synchronized strike. This is but a fraction of humanity's true military power. Why continued the message we send today isn't just for you, but for any force that might threaten our existence. Humanity will not be conquered. We will not be subjugated, and we will answer any attack with overwhelming force. The battle ended not with a prolonged exchange of fire, but with a single devastating demonstration of power. The human fleet's combined attack reduced the pride of the Kraken Armada to its constituent atoms in seconds, leaving only Krick's flagship intact to carry the message back to the Empire as the surviving Kraken vessel limped away through hyperspace. We'd turned to his bridge crew. Send word to all commands. Phase 1 is complete. Prepare for Phase 2. We take the fight to their territory. The sleeping giant was fully awake, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Kraken High Command facility on Centaur Prime buzzed with frantic activity. Emergency meetings have been running non-stop since the devastating defeat of their fleet at New Haven. Supreme Overlord Vexal, leader of the Kracken Empire's military forces, watched the tactical displays with mounting dread as reports of human strikes flooded in from across Kraken space. They're not just attacking our military installations. His strategic advisor, Corin, reported they're systematically dismantling our entire infrastructure, supply lines, communication relays, hyperspace, navigation beacons, all targeted with precision. We've never encountered Vexal facial tentacles ride in agitation. How did we miss this level of military capability? The answer came in the form of another massive assault. Human warships appeared simultaneously at 30 different strategic locations across Kraken space, each fleet employing different tactical approaches that seemed specifically designed to counter Kraken defensive protocols aboard the Hyperion Admiral Sarah Chen washed as Operation Hybra unfolded. The ship's quantum AI PR menus displayed real-time analytics of each engagement. The Kraken are adapting their defensive formations. Pure use reported probability of successful counter-tactics 82.3%. Chen allowed herself a grim smile. They still don't understand. Execute Phase 3. Throughout human-controlled space, massive structures that had been disguised as civilian stations revealed their true nature. These were the nexus points, quantum computing hubs that could process and analyze battle data from thousands of engagements, simultaneous live-feeding tactical updates to the entire human fleet in real time. All fleet commanders, Chen broadcast, initiate synchronized warfare protocols. Show them why humanity spent 2 centuries preparing for this moment. The human assault transformed into something the galaxy had never witnessed. Each fleet began operating as part of a single vast neural network. Ships moved with impossible coordination, their actions guided by both human intuition and machine precision. When the Crayon adapted to one strategy, they found themselves facing 3 new ones. On the Kraken home world, Vexal received increasingly desperate reports, my lord. They They're not. Just defeating our forces, they're studying us. Each engagement reveals more of our tactical doctrine, and they're using it against us. The humans had turned space itself into a weapon. Quantum disruptors created zones where Kracken technology simply ceased to function. Gravitational weapons bent space-time into impossible configurations, trapping entire fleets in temporal eddies. But most devastating was the psychological impact. The growing realization that they were facing an enemy that had spent generations preparing specifically for this conflict. Send the reserve fleets from the Outer Rim. Vexal commanded all of them. Sir Corin protested that would leave our subsidiary worlds undefended. Those worlds will be irrelevant if we can't stop this human advance. But the humans had anticipated this too as the Kraken pulled their forces from the Outer Rim. They found human diplomatic vessels waiting at each abandoned world. Thesis ships carried not threats, but offers of alliance protection and technological exchange, everything the Kraken had denied their subject species for millennia. Admiral Chen received Therports with satisfaction. The Kraken made a fundamental mistake, she explained to her command staff. They thought military power was about ships and weapons. They forgot that true strength lies in preparation, adaptation, and most importantly, understanding your enemy. The tactical displays showed the results of this philosophy. Human forces weren't just winning battles. They were reshaping the strategic landscape of the galaxy. Each victory brought more of the Kraken's former subject species to humanity's banner. Each engagement revealed new weaknesses in Kraken military doctrine. All fleets prepare for final phase. Engagement, Chen ordered, target the Kraken central command structure. The response came from hundreds of fleet commanders, simultaneously acknowledged on Centaur Prime. Vexal watched as human ships emerged from quantum space around his command center. Their formation was unlike anything seen before, a three-dimensional matrix of vessels that seemed to pulse with energy. My lord. Corin whispered, they're broadcasting a message. The human transmission was clear and direct to the leadership of the Kracken Empire. You believed you could strike at humanity with impunity. You thought our apparent lack of military development meant weakness. Instead, you've awakened a force that has spent centuries preparing for this exact scenario. Scario, your choice is simple, immediate, unconditional surrender, or witness the full deployment of humanity's military capability, as if to emphasize the point. The human fleet began a synchronized energy buildup that made every sensor in the Kraken command center scream. In alarm, Vexal, supreme leader of an empire that had stood for 10,000 years, found himself facing a choice that would reshape the galaxy as he stared at the tactical displays showing human fleets advancing across Kraken space with unstoppable precision. He realized that this wasn't just a military defeat, it was the end of an era. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology, their ships, or even their tactical brilliance. It was their ability to defeat every challenge, every threat into an opportunity for advancement. The Kracken Empire had ruled through fear and military might. Humanity was reshaped the galaxy through preparation, adaptation, and an unshakable determination to survive. Dr. Elena Santos stood before the combined Galactic Council, her holographic form projected into the ancient chamber, where representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered behind her tactical displays showed the ongoing dissolution of the Kracken Empire's military might. But she wasn't here to discuss battlefields. The war is merely the visible face of humanity's response. She began, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. The true revolution is happening in the hearts and minds of the galaxy's people, as Earth's chief diplomatic officer Santos had orchestrated what many were calling the Silent Strike, a massive psychological and diplomatic campaign that was proving as devastating as any fleet action in the chambers of the Kraken. High Command now under joint supervision. Supreme Overlord Vex watched his empire crumble, not through military defeat alone, but through something far more insidious. Hope another system has declared independence. His aide reported the Proxima cluster. is requesting Earth's protection. Our remaining forces are standing down. Vex's defeated posture told the story of an empire that had failed to understand its true enemy. The humans hadn't just prepared military responses to Kracken aggression. They had spent decades studying the empire's social structure, its political weaknesses, its cultural pressure points. Aboard the ES Athena, Admiral Chen reviewed the latest strategic analysis. With Dr. Santos's hologram, the Kraken never understood what they were actually fighting. Santos explained they saw our ships, our weapons, our tactics. They never saw the network we were building. The display showed the fruits of humanity's true strategy. While the Kraken had focused on military targets, human diplomatic vessels had visited hundreds of subjugated worlds. They brought with them not just promises of freedom, but practical support, advanced medical technology, educational systems, infrastructure, improvements, all the things the Kraken had denied their subject species. We didn't just build warships during our centuries of preparation. Santos continued, we built relationships. We studied every species under Kraken control, understood their needs, their aspirations. When the moment came, we didn't just offer them freedom. We offered them a future. The results were devastating to the Kraken power structure. World after world declared independence, protected by human fleets but empowered by human knowledge. The Empire's own military forces, seeing the transformation sweeping the galaxy, increasingly chose to stand down rather than fight. In a secure quantum conference, Earth's leadership discussed the next phase. The Crayon expected us to behave like them. Chen observed, to conquer, to subjugate, to rule. They never expected us to offer partnership instead. Santos nodded. That's the fundamental difference. The Crayon built an empire through force. We're building an alliance through mutual benefit. Every world that joins us makes us stronger, not through military might, but through diversity of thought, of culture, of innovation. The tactical displays told the story. Kraken military installations were surrendering not to overwhelming force, but to their own people. Former subject species were forming democratic councils, establishing trade relationships, sharing technology that the Kraken had hoarded for millennia. The art of war isn't just about winning battles, Santos quoted. It's about achieving victory without fighting. When possible, the Crayon thought they were facing the military power instead. They're facing an idea. That idea was spreading across the galaxy at faster than light speeds. Human diplomatic ships carried not just weapons, but libraries of knowledge, cultural exchanges, medical breakthroughs. Every world that welcomed them found not conquerors, but partners, eager to learn and share in the Galactic Council chamber. Santos concluded her address. Humanity's response to the destruction of New Haven wasn't just military, it was philosophical. The Kraken Empire believed that power flowed from the barrel of a gun. We're showing the galaxy that true power comes from cooperation, from mutual growth, from the free exchange of ideas. The council chamber erupted in support. Representatives from formerly subjugated worlds spoke of transformation, of renaissance, of a new age dawning in the galaxy. The Kracken Empire had ruled through fear for 10,000 years. It was falling not to superior firepower alone, but to a superior idea. Admiral Chen watched the proceedings from her command deck, a small smile playing across her features. They thought they were starting a war, she mused. Instead, they catalyzed our revolution. The displays showed human ships throughout cracks in space, but they weren't engaging in combat. They were protecting newly independent worlds, delivering humanitarian aid, facilitating cultural exchanges. The 700 warships that had shocked the galaxy had become instruments not just of war, but of transformation. The true art of war, Santos's hologram remarked, is knowing when to fight and when to build. The Kraken never understood that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't our military might, it was our capacity to turn enemies into allies, to transform conflict into cooperation. As the galactic order reshaping continued, One thing became clear: humanity hadn't just prepared for war, they had prepared to remake the galaxy into something better than what had existed before. The destruction of New Haven hadn't just awakened a sleeping giant, it had unleashed a force for fundamental change throughout known space. 5 years after the destruction of New Haven, Admiral Sarahan stood at the observation deck of the New Haven Memorial Space Station. The massive structure orbited the exact coordinates where the colony had once existed, its crystalline spires reaching out into space like frozen flames. But it wasn't just a monument to the dead, it was a symbol of humanity's transformation of the galaxy. The last cracks and holdouts surrendered this morning. General Wei reported his hologram shimmering beside her. The transition is complete. Chen nodded, watching, as ships from 100 different species passed through the nearby transit lanes, where once there had been only cracks and military vessels enforcing Imperial will now. There was a constant flow of trade, cultural exchange, and cooperation. Have you seen? The latest reports from the Galactic Development Council. Dr. Santos asked, joining them. Virtually from Earth, her diplomatic course had been instrumental and shepherd in the galaxy. Through its transformation, former cracks and subject worlds are advancing at an unprecedented rate. Access to unrestricted education and technology is creating a renaissance across known space. The observation deck's displays showed the scope of the change. The former Kracken Empire had been transformed into a network of independent but interconnected worlds. Earth didn't rule this new order. Instead, humanity had helped establish Lish, a genuine democratic federation, where each species contributed its unique strengths to the whole. The Kraken never understood what they started. When they destroyed New Haven, Chen mused, they thought they were eliminating a threat. Instead, they catalyzed the greatest transformation in galactic history. The station's quantum arrays brought in real-time images from across known space. On the former Kraken prone world, a new parliamentary complex house representatives from every species in the Federation, former slave worlds, no hosted universities where knowledge flowed freely. The Crayon military installations have been converted into research centers, medical facilities, and cultural exchange hubs. We've received another petition for membership. Santos reported a species from beyond the former Empire's borders. They'd been watching our transformation. They want to be part of it. This was perhaps the most profound change of all. The galaxy was no longer divided between conquerors and conquered. Earth's response to the destruction of New Haven had demonstrated a different way, one based on cooperation, mutual defense, and shared progress. The memorial ceremony begins in an hour. Wei reminded them the families are gathering. The annual commemoration of New Haven's destruction had become more than a remembrance of tragedy. It was a celebration of resilience, of transformation, of humanity's capacity to turn devastating loss into profound change. As survivors and descendants of New Haven's population began arriving at the station, Chen reflected on the journey that had brought them here. We spent centuries preparing for war, she said. But what really built was the foundation for peace. The station's great hall, filled with representatives from across known space, former Kraken military officers, sat beside leaders of war worlds their empire had once enslaved. Scientists from 100 species shared discoveries that would once have been hoarded as military secrets. Children from different worlds played together, their laughter a testament to the new reality they were building. To those who died at New Haven, Chen began her address, her voice carrying to every corner of the hall and broadcasting across the galaxy. You did not die in vain. Your sacrifice showed us that humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or our warships. It's in our capacity to unite, to transform, to build something greater than ourselves. The holographic displays showed the extent of that transformation. The 700 Irozuri Zero warships that had shocked the galaxy were still there, but their role had changed. They now served as guarantors of peace, protecting trade routes, conducting rescue operations, and ensuring that no species would ever again threaten galactic stability. We thought we were preparing for war, Santos added, addressing the assembled dignitaries, "In truth, we were preparing to reshape the galaxy. The Kracken Empire ruled through fear for 10,000 years. It fell not just to superior firepower, but to a superior idea that cooperation is stronger than conquest, that diversity brings strength, that knowledge shared multiplies rather than divides." As the ceremony concluded, Chen watched ships departing. For worlds that had once been bitter enemies but were now steadfast allies, the destruction of New Haven had awakened humanity's military might, but it had revealed something far more powerful: their capacity to transform conflict into cooperation, enemies into friends, and an empire of fear into a federation of hope. "The galaxy will never forget New Haven," she said softly. Not because of how it was destroyed, but because of what its destruction created: a new dawn for all species, a future built not on domination, but on the simple idea that we are all stronger together than we could ever be. Art, as the memorial lights blazed across space, illuminating the path forward for countless worlds, the galaxy understood a truth that the Kracken Empire had failed to grasp. Humanity's greatest weapon was never their warships or their technology. It was their capacity to imagine a better future and their determination to make that future real. No matter the obstacles in their path, the dawn of a new era had truly begun, and it was brighter than anyone could have imagined.